Future Talk.
This is Future Talk
with Omnial Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Happy Tuesday, everyone, and good afternoon. Hope you're all having a blessed afternoon and excited to find out the latest on what is happening in the tech world, in the UAE, and all around the world. We've got a very exciting show in store for all of you, especially because this week is definitely an exciting one. Sharjah Innovation Week is taking place every single day from 9 a.m. up until 3 p.m. at the University of Sharjah, more specifically at the Men's College. And we've got lots and lots of interviews from some of the smartest innovators that you could ever come across right here in store for everyone. But coming up on today's show, we're also going to be speaking to an internationally recognized advisor on blockchain use cases, Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni, who is also a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council on Cryptocurrencies, will be joining us to talk to us more about how the UAE is celebrating innovation this month, and also what activities is Sharjah Innovation Week preparing for everyone. We're also going to be talking about how he actually sold his first ever Tesla as an NFT. It's definitely an exciting show that we've got in store for everyone. In the world of apps, we're also going to be talking all about Zoom and how they've actually updated their software, especially on MacBooks, to help fix a bug that has actually been causing a lot of meetings to have the microphone turned on even when the meeting is over. Lots and lots is in store right here on today's show, so make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked, and we'll be right back.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
As the UAE celebrates innovation this month, we are going to be talking about one interesting guest that's actually going to be joining one of the biggest conferences for auditors right here in the UAE. The well-known Sophia the robot, the humanoid robot that is actually the first robot in the world to become an official citizen in Saudi Arabia, will be discussing artificial intelligence in the internal audit profession at the regional conference in Dubai. We're actually very excited because never have I heard of a robot actually joining a conference and officially being a speaker over there. Sophia will actually be going ahead and conducting her very own interactive session that is titled Artificial Intelligence in the Internal Audit Profession. She's going to be talking about the future of AI when it comes to how the UAE is implementing it for the next 50 years. And the theme of the talk is all about revolution and transformation of artificial intelligence, and who better to talk about it than a robot herself. Sophia became the very first citizen of the world after Saudi Arabia granted her the citizenship back in 2017, and it was the biggest hype, the one dream that lots of robots have had for quite some time, and she was actually the symbol of the future of artificial intelligence. So it's very exciting to have her for the very first time ever highlighting how important it is for us to go ahead and incorporate technological innovation in all professions. This is going to be in line with the UAE's achievement as the first government in the world to have a Ministry of Artificial Intelligence and a Minister for AI. They've chosen the conference theme to be, as I've mentioned, revolution and transformation of artificial intelligence. But the main challenge that they're looking to kind of tackle is the disruption of technology. How can we stay on the trends, up to the trends, but at the same time not have to give up human power and make sure that they're working together and not one overpowering the other. So it's going to be a very exciting conference that's going to be highlighting what the next 20 to 30 years will be looking like right here in the UAE. Now, apart from Sophia the robot, there will be other speakers that are also going to be conducting their very own discussion, and they're some of the biggest names in the field of technology. We're talking about big CEOs, ethical hackers, who are actually going to be talking all about insider secrets to how hackers are getting in and why, bounty hackers, white hat hackers, you name it. And it's going to be an exciting discussion that will be taking place in the upcoming month, more specifically between the 7th of March up until the 9th of March. It's going to be a 3-day conference. We've got lots of professionals lined up, but the one I'm most excited about is Sophia the robot. So let me know, did you ever think you'd be heading to a conference where you've got a robot conducting her very own session? We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking all about the innovations that we've been seeing at Sharjah Innovation Week. I actually had a chance to head there myself yesterday to University of Sharjah Men's College, and I got a chance to meet some of the smartest minds I've come across in quite some time. We're going to be discussing what 2 students actually created. They have done one robot that is helping stroke patients actually through their rehabilitation exercises, especially when it comes to upper extremities disabilities, moving their hands, relearning how to move their limbs. And this robot can guide you through the entire process. If you want to find out more about this robot, make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked, and we'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Sharjah Innovation Week is definitely the place to be for all those tech enthusiasts. If you've ever been excited to find out what's going to be happening in the world of medicine, architecture, engineering, 10, 20, even 5 years down the line, you need to go ahead and head to the University of Sharjah. They're open every single day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All you need is a negative PCR test and a green pass, and you will basically get a chance to see into the future through the different innovations that all these students and business as well as government entities are showcasing at this exciting event. Yesterday, I had a chance to head there, and I actually came across a very exciting project. If anyone listens to Future Talk often enough, you know how much I love Pepper the robot. She is the product of SoftBank's robotics. They create so many robots that have been implemented and applied in different fields and hotels and banks, you name it. But the one I came across yesterday is the sibling, the little sibling of Pepper the robot. And this sibling was actually creating great impact when it comes to the world of medicine, because I came across one project that was done by students, Rawda Abdel Ghaffar, Ali Abdullah Al Marzugi, Hind Rashid Al Ali, as well as Tanjuli Sadiqi, who were creating this robot that was trying to help all stroke patients in their rehabilitation exercises. So all patients that have upper extremity disabilities would actually be able to follow some exercises that have been specifically catered to them. They're personalized activities that can only help them in their journey to recovery. This robot can basically provide them with real-time supervision, even if a nurse is not around. It can track their progress as well as give them feedback on every single exercise that they're doing. It'll even be able to do the exercise with them as they do it in real time. And I actually had a chance to try it out myself. So I want everyone to kind of get a glimpse of what it can do simply by listening to what these smart innovators have had to say about it. Robotic invention.
Okay. We designed a robotic rehabilitation environment that is able to demonstrate exercises for stroke patients and patients with disabilities. At the same time, the system supervises the exercises by determining if the exercise is done correctly or not.
What inspired the idea behind this robot?
Okay, so according to World Health Organization, the aging population in the UAE is set to increase by 15 to 16% by the year 2050. And we know that the incidence of stroke patients increase with the aging population. So in order to help them, I thought that this would be a very interesting invention.
Can you talk to us about how it functions? So how is it able to detect the movements of the patient, and how does it display the movements to them and make sure that they're doing it correctly?
Okay, so the entire system consists of two different aspects. So first, we demonstrate the exercise using the humanoid robot. It's called Now. It's by SoftBank Robotics. I'm sure many of you have seen the Pepper robot by them. So first, the robot demonstrates the exercise, and then we use the Microsoft Kinect. That is by Xbox. I'm sure everyone knows about it. So we use that to detect the motion of the patient, and if they don't do it correctly, we have the robot say that, give intermittent feedback to them, and if they do it correctly, then we move on to repeating the exercise for as many times as the patient requires. And yeah, that's very interesting. Thank you.
What are your future plans for this robot?
Okay, so we also want to include progress tracking, and since our main goal is to have this autonomous robotic system, we plan on having like an emergency thing where if the patient is having, like, if their heart rate is too high, we would send a message to a physiotherapist or someone nearby.
So like
so
SOS.
that, yeah, exactly. We'll send an SOS signal to a physiotherapist, and just in case the patient is not feeling well, so that they can come and take care of them.
This is actually one of many innovations that are on display at the University of Sharjah in celebration of Sharjah Innovation Week. We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be actually hearing a lot more about the main aim behind the UAE Innovation Month. What activities should we be excited for this week? And we're going to be speaking to Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni to tell us more about it. Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Future Talk. This is Future Talk.
With Al Saleh and Hani Balkis.
When you hear of 12-year-olds, young kids, making close to $500,000, you know it can definitely not come from a lemonade stand, and that it most probably involves NFTs. The unique digital assets NFTs have definitely gone from being a fringe use case on the Bitcoin blockchain to becoming ones to capture mass markets. Today we're discussing a very important topic when it comes to NFTs and how are they actually making their way in the automotive industry. Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni, an internationally recognized advisor on blockchain use cases and the CEO of Dubai Blockchain Center, is joining us today to tell us more about his very own experience when it comes to selling the first ever Tesla as an NFT. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Marwan.
Thank you again for having me.
Dr. Marwan, whenever we talk about NFTs, you've got people split in two different directions. Some of them know exactly what we're talking about, and others are like, what are NFTs? It just feels like this next big thing that people are talking about, but no one believes it's going to come true. Can you kind of simplify the topic for us? What are NFTs, and are they really the next big thing?
I think a lot of people misunderstand NFTs because they misunderstand the underlying platform and the underlying idea behind NFTs. So when we actually first started with cryptocurrencies back in 2009, a lot of people didn't understand that money can be fully digitized, and did not understand the ideas around things like digital scarcity. So as a lot of people know that Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoins. There's not going to be 21 and 1, you know. So by limiting that, you actually create the perfect market for, supply and demand. You know exactly how much is the maximum supply. And it's no different when it comes to NFTs. NFTs are digital representation of, could be anything, could be a car, could be a watch, could be a piece of art that is digital, could be anything that can be turned into a digital representation, whether it is in person. For example, you can take an art piece and convert it into an NFT. You can take a physical asset and make the ownership of the digital of the physical asset on the blockchain. So it's basically a certificate of ownership of anything. And that certificate is shown to everyone around the world that this actually belongs to this wallet address. And then whoever controls the key or the password for that wallet is actually the one in charge and owning that underlying asset. Could be a piece of art, could be ownership to a car, could be ownership to a house. Because we are moving into this digital realm, this could be actually also a 3D object. Could be a movie, could be a piece of music, could be even IP, whether it is a poem, whether it is actually a video. Like we've seen in the NBA, there's something called Hot Shots, where it is actually a piece of action and that's preserved in history of a certain game, or it could be a character like an animation, or could be anything that your imagination is the limit.
Absolutely. Now, the future of NFTs when it comes to the automotive industry is definitely very bright. We've had a lot of tech enthusiasts saying it's going to be an amazing way to actually sell used cars, because we do know when you go ahead to sell a car, it usually loses about 30% of its share value. So can you talk to us about your very own experience selling your first ever Tesla, the first ever Tesla right here in the UAE, as an NFT? What are some of the benefits, in your opinion, when it comes to selling a car as an NFT?
So the value proposition for used cars and cars in general has changed dramatically since COVID. So what we realized is actually the car price is going down in the initial phase of COVID and then dramatically dropping down. And people had complete lots that were unsold of cars because nobody was traveling. Everybody was on lockdown. And then right after that, we saw a complete spike up to 25 to 30%. And the US led actually this spike because there was a shortage of chips. What we also noticed that this scarcity in new cars being generated created a huge market for car collecting of used cars, people started becoming nostalgic and worrying about experience and the look and feel and the touch of the car, especially manual shift, cars. And these became sought after cars. Now, adding to that value of reversing the value of used cars into creating them as pieces of art. And not only in the real world, but also in the virtual world. As I explained, NFT opens a huge door. So imagine you own a car, that's a used car, that's by itself is now in demand. By itself, the value is going up. And you exploding that value by creating a piece of art, whether it is in the car itself as a wrap, like you were doing with the first Tesla, or as an actual painted on piece of art, which we are planning actually in the next phase of this project, as well as a virtual car that you can actually not only use and drive in the virtual world, but you can actually lend to other people. Imagining somebody renting your virtual car in the metaverse, not even buying it. And it's like I said, the possibilities are there. And your imagination is the only limit.
Absolutely. Now, when we talk about your first ever Tesla, you've mentioned that it could be you could turn anything into an NFT, a piece of art. But with your Tesla, it was a car and an art all into one. So can you talk to us about the value that you sold it to? What was the process? If anyone, listening wants to go ahead and maybe consider selling their own car as an NFT, what do they have to keep in mind?
So it was a huge learning curve for us, to be honest. So first you have to find an artist whose art is extremely valuable. And you have to understand that the artist has to also understand that what he's doing is creating value as well. So I found a very talented artist who was being collected by a lot of people in crypto already. His name is Vesa, he's from Finland. And Vesa has his own brand around cars. It's around fluid art. So art that is 3D and also has some kind of a dynamic element to it. So it's not like stationary art. And this kind of art is actually very interesting because it creates an art that cannot be copied. A lot of people were looking at NFTs and saying these NFTs are simple. Why don't you just right click and copy them or save the file and things like that? With Vesa's art, it's impossible to do that because each one of them is unique. Even if you copy it, you will not have a true copy. Even if you 3D scan the car, you're not going to have an accurate 3D scan of the car. It is actually an AR and augmented reality element. There is a 3D element. There's actually the ownership and drivability of that car in the virtual world. So it's extremely, extremely hard to mimic and extremely hard to rip off. That being said, if anybody wanted to actually create this, they have to find an artist that is willing to do it, artist who is talented to do these kind of works of art, and they have to be multidisciplinary as well. So they know how to do 3D art, 2D art, animation, and all this stuff, as well as find then a market and a platform where they can list the car to be sold and also market it to the right people who are actually collectors of these kind of cars. So the combination of all these elements is very important. And the learning from it, and what I've learned and what Vesa has learned, and also the platforms that listed the car have learned that this is actually something new, it's revolutionary, and the learning curve is there. But I mean, the excitement and the look that you get from people when they see the car in the virtual world or in the real world is priceless.
Absolutely. Do yourself a favor and please, if you're not driving, head to Google and just look up the first ever Tesla that was sold as an NFT by Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni. Honestly, you're going to be doing your eyes a favor today because it is definitely a piece of art that is worth looking at. We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we want to talk a little bit about some of the red flags that have actually been raising the concerns of a lot of people whenever we talk about NFTs, buyers, how can we keep scammers at bay whenever we're dealing with NFTs. So make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked and we'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
As the physical world slowly starts to merge with the metaverse, we are looking at a typical day in the metaverse very soon resembling our very own familiar world that we live in. We'll be visiting shopping centers, driving across town with our very own NFT cars. Today we're joined by Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni, an internationally recognized advisor on blockchain use cases and the CEO of Dubai Blockchain Center. But to me, the main topic of today has definitely been how he was able to sell his first ever Tesla as an NFT. It's a piece of art. I advise everyone and anyone to go ahead and check it out. All you need to do is look up the Tesla that Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni was able to sell, and you'll be able to see that piece of art for yourself. But Dr. Marwan, I think a main question whenever we talk about NFTs is how are we going to be able to enter the metaverse with an NFT? Will we actually be able to drive a car virtually by simply buying or owning a car as an NFT?
So it's not a very simple question. There is no one metaverse. There are multiple metaverses around the world. Some people refer to that as multiverse.
True.
And some of them are specific to specific ecosystems and games. But there's an idea now. We are very early in this space, actually. There's an idea of cross metaverse assets, which means you can jump with the same car into different metaverses. You can jump in with a game item, for example. That could be a car, that could be a character from one game to another. There are people as we speak that are creating bridges between different worlds. They are creating bridges between different platforms as well, and cryptocurrencies, and we are very, very, very early. And these are going to be the pathways to realize value. Imagine this car now is, for example, drivable in one metaverse, but imagine you can drive it in 10 or 20 or 30 different metaverses. It's going to be extremely mind-blowing.
Absolutely. Now, with talking about the popularity of NFTs, there comes some red flags that a lot of people are worried about. Many marketplaces and issuers actually talk about increasing the levels of security to try and keep buyers interested, but at the same time, scammers at bay. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, look, there are a lot of technologies that are going to come up in the next few days and few months and few years. This space is extremely fast growing and extremely advancing in the security part of it, as well as in the value creation. Of course, in the beginning, everybody is excited, but I think in a few days and a few months, we'll see new technologies for encryption, digital watermarking, and other technologies creating real value for these kind of assets.
Absolutely. Last but not least, I wanted to actually get your very own advice on it. Do you believe everyone should own something as an NFT? And if someone is just entering the market, what is the first thing that maybe they should consider?
I think education. First of all, you have to be really, spend the time and the effort to educate yourself in this space and then start investing. Do yourself a favor, educate yourself. This is the first investment. We are in Innovation Week, so you should educate yourself and learn more about it. There are workshops across the whole Emirates around blockchain, NFTs, and get started, take the plunge, and then investment can wait. And this is you are very early still in both the blockchain space and the NFT space.
Absolutely. Wise words from Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great honor having you on our show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. To everyone tuning in to us right now, hope you all had an exciting show with us. We definitely loved having this conversation with Dr. Marwan Al Zarouni. Future Talk is coming to an end, but you can catch us again, same time, same place tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Until then, make sure you keep Pulse 95 locked. We've got so many shows lined up to keep you entertained throughout the day. We'll catch you again tomorrow. Have a beautiful day.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.